Welcome back to All Things 80s, and here we are in 2020, and it's universally accepted that smoking and drinking is bad for your health. However, back in the 80s, not only was smoking and drinking commonplace, it was marketed towards children. Everywhere you looked, you would see people smoking and drinking, especially on TV, where it frequently appeared in soap operas, talk shows, and even sporting events. Most of our favourite pop stars smoked, and I always remember thinking Andy Taylor of Duran Duran looked really cool in this picture. The fact was that smoking and drinking was socially acceptable, and candy manufacturers used this to their advantage to push a range of products on a generation of unsuspecting children. Candy cigarettes had been around for decades, but during the 80s the marketing made them even more appealing to children with the inclusion of cartoon characters, superheroes, and even sports. Much like real cigarettes, the candy variety came packaged in a cardboard box and included collector's cards. In order to further enhance the illusion that these were just like the real thing, the white candy sticks featured a red tip to emulate the glowing embers of a real cigarette. It was sometime later in the decade, or the early 90s, that the red tip was outlawed and the name was changed to candy sticks. If you thought that marketing sugary sticks under the premise of them being cigarettes was bad, that was child's play when compared to the chocolate cigarettes I enjoyed as a child. While the candy stick variety possessed a vague resemblance to the real thing, sticks of chocolate wrapped in highly detailed rice paper featuring a yellow filter and packed with confectioner's sugar that could be blown out the tip to emulate a cloud of smoke left nothing to the imagination. These were the real deal, and you could be the coolest kid in the playground as you stood with one leg propped up against the school wall, blowing out clouds of sugar from your replica cigarette. Now maybe the adults in your life didn't smoke cigarettes but still enjoyed tobacco. Well, the candy industry had you covered in the form of sweet pipe tobacco. This was essentially shredded coconut mixed with cocoa powder to look just like the tobacco Grandad would puff from his pipe. In order to further the illusion, this confectionery came in resealable pouches identical to the packaging the real stuff came in. We also had chocolate cigars as well as licorice pipes. Basically anything that emulated something that grown-ups smoked was sold to us in candy form. As with smoking, alcohol was also marketed at children. We had drinks, candy, and ice pops, or as I knew them, ice lollies. These things made us feel like grown-ups. Starting with the drinks, Top Deck was a real favourite of mine. There were 3 flavours to choose from: lemonade shandy, which was beer mixed with lemonade, lager and lime, and cider shandy, which was hard cider mixed with lemonade. These drinks actually did contain alcohol, albeit in very small measure. 0.5% to be exact, but to add to the experience, they did contain colouring to make them near enough identical to the real thing. We normally drank Top Deck straight from the can, although there was one time I almost gave my mum a heart attack when I poured some into a glass and said, "Look at me, I'm drinking beer." She took one look at the glass of amber nectar, complete with foam head, and yelled, "Where the hell did you get that?" I often wonder if my fondness for ale stems from the fact that I started with Top Deck at such a tender age. Another brand that offered something similar was Shandy Bass, which came in oversized cans with branding very much like a real can of beer. I'm sure we're all familiar with the sweet delicacy known as cola bottles, but when I was a lad there was an alternative, and these were called beer glasses. Much like cola bottles, these jelly candies were moulded to emulate a miniature pint glass and featured a dark brown body with a white top masquerading as a foam head. These candies really did taste like beer, and when you think about it now, it's a pretty shocking thing to offer children. We all know that summer is a great time to sit outside and enjoy an ice-cold cocktail, and the Lion's Made Ice Cream Company used that as a means to push more alcohol onto children. They released a range of ice lollies that were simply called cocktails, and legend has it that this summer treat did contain alcohol. There were 4 flavours to choose from: Pina Colada, Brandy Alexander, Blue Hawaiian, and Tequila Sunrise. I remember going to the local store with my friend to buy one of these and chortling away to ourselves as if we had somehow beaten the system by purchasing alcohol at the ripe old age of 10. I look back on these days with a great deal of fondness, but I do wonder about the lasting effects of exposing young children to alcohol and tobacco in such a cavalier way. But this was the 80s, a time of indulgence and exuberance that hasn't been seen since. But that shouldn't be used as an excuse for the potential addiction and misery caused by these marketing practices. As always, I want to say a huge thank you to the Patreons and ask that if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and please stay tuned for more videos from All Things 80s.